Well, now that the no vote had a big victory last Tuesday in Jackson County, there's been a lot of speculation as to what happened next for these teams. And obviously, there is a thought process that the teams might take a look at the state of Kansas. And one of the big reasons that Kansas could be appealing to the Chiefs and or the Royals is because of things known as star bonds. You've probably heard about them in the news. You've read about them. But what are they? I'm just going to get to the very basic level and go through this step by step with Sean Tarwater, our next guest, a Kansas State Legislature right here in the Kansas City area on KCMO Talk Radio. Sean, good morning. Great to have you here. Let's just start off with a very basic question. What is a star bond? What does it stand for? And what does it do?
Thanks, Pete. It's always great to be with you. Star bonds. We'll start off with star bonds. They're the ability to use new money to pay for economic development projects that are meant to bring people from out of state and at least 100 miles away. What you do is you find a field similar to what we did with the racetrack. That was one of our success stories. The racetrack up there, that was a field, and we used star bonds to build it. And you sell the bonds off over a 25-year period so that you can build something, and you pledge all the new sales tax for the area to pay the event space off. And so that it's new money, and it doesn't cost the taxpayers anything other than revenue they otherwise wouldn't have received because it was a field. And that kind of gives us a leg up. I think we're the only state in the nation that has anything like it.
Okay, so you said the sales tax dollars generated from that specific location. So like any money spent on the speedway, the sales tax money is used back towards the bonds, or is it also surrounding areas?
It's also the surrounding areas. And I'm the chairman of the Commerce Committee at the Kansas House, and we rewrote the Star Bond bill about 3, maybe 4 years ago because people were taking advantage of that particular aspect of it. They would draw a Star Bond district that was many miles away from the actual attraction in order to pay for it. But the intent of the Star Bond law was to actually bring people to town and create new revenue.
Gotcha.
And so now the districts are drawn in close proximity to the attraction itself. And so all new retail. So even if you draw a store into it that's already existing, whatever we're collecting in sales tax at that location is still the taxpayer money and comes into the state. The rest, anything above and beyond what's being collected in that area, would be a result of the attraction and therefore would be new money that would pay for the bonds.
So it's not a new sales tax. It's just if your store falls into the area of the Star Bond geographic location, some of those sales tax dollars would be used to pay back the bonds of the new entertainment district, speedway, whatever it might be.
That's right. So it would be 100% of the sales tax that is created from the new businesses that are created in that district. And I would point out that
okay, so only the new business.
Right, only the new business. And I would point out that the state is not on the hook if the Star Bonds fail. They are pledged, the sales tax dollars are pledged as the only thing they can get. So the local municipality or the state are not on the hook if they don't pan out.
So if I have a mom and pop restaurant somewhere that's drawn into a Star Bond district zone for a stadium or anything like that, and I'm doing, throw out a number, $1 million a year in revenue, and it turns into $2 million, the sales taxes on that second million would go towards the Star Bonds.
That's right.
Okay. So it doesn't really matter to the business, but how does one prove that the company growth is directly related to that stadium or that complex?
It's not easily proved, but it's just the way the law was built, the law was written. We did put some guardrails on it, 3 or 4 years ago when we rewrote them, and there are feasibility studies done in advance. The local individuals, the businesses, and the people get to weigh in. There's a report done on that that's sent to the Secretary of Commerce, and the Secretary of Commerce reviews everything and makes the decision.
Okay, I see. All right. Sean Tarwater is with us, Kansas Legislature. He is the chairman of the Commerce Committee. He is the expert, as I've been told, on all things Star bonds. So this was also used for Panasonic, right? And I know we don't know if that's going to end up being a success story or not, but that's the most recent biggest project this was used for. And how did the Star bonds work in conjunction with that deal?
So the Panasonic facility was built under a different program called Apex, and they get a percentage of their investment back because it's not an attraction that's going to bring people to town. It's a new business, it's a manufacturing facility, and we have other programs for that. We did write a special law though to bring Panasonic here.
Okay, I got you. So that's a separate deal. So when did the Star bonds go into effect?
They've been around for quite some time. They originally actually were created for an amusement park called the Wizard of Oz, and that kind of fell through. And the very first Star bond, they rewrote it for the racetrack, and the very first Star bonds was for the racetrack.
Okay.
And since then, the law has been expanded to include other things. And normally, Star bonds are used only for the infrastructure, and the builder is responsible, the developer is responsible for the vertical construction. However, on the racetrack, we've carved out a couple of things over the years that do allow for vertical construction, and sports facilities is one of them. And I'm a big believer in sports as an economic driver, and we have several Star bonds throughout the state that have to do with sports facilities, multi-sports facilities that actually bring in tournament play, and that is very lucrative for the community.
Okay. Are there examples of that in our area that come to mind, or other parts of the state in particular?
We're building one up north. It's going to be kind of up there in the Wyandotte area called Home Field. That's going to be really incredible. We've got the Blue Hawk facility is being built with Star bonds, and that's looking like it's going to pan out really well. There are a couple other things, though, Pete, that I wanted to point out that we put together for the sports facility, for the actual sports team.
Mm-hmm.
That we passed sports wagering a few years ago, and we had the foresight to dedicate the majority of the funds in order to bring a sports team to town. And so we do have a fund available there, and that fund does have bonding authority, and we think that alone can be bonded out for hundreds of millions of dollars in addition to Star bonds.
So it's not just because right now that sports betting fund has about $10 million in it, as I understand, but you're saying it could be bonded out to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes, sir. And the reason it's so low is all these enticements to get people signed up. The accounting for those shows as a loss. And so, the funds, as people come on, there will be less of that, and they'll grow much quicker into the future. We did that, and then this last Friday, we had the Star bond bill open, the statutes open in a conference committee I was in with the Commerce Committee on the Senate side, and we added port authority for Wyandotte County, and that would give them the ability to do an additional sales tax for the entire Wyandotte County area, similar to what Jackson County voted on and failed.
Yeah.
But the voters would have to weigh in on that because it would be an increase in tax. Everything else that we've done is new money.
Yeah, there's not a tax increase unless you were to do something like that in Wyandotte County on the ballot, which I got to imagine would be a pretty small portion of this because Wyandotte's got, 160,000 people in it compared to the 700 in Jackson. Okay, well, this is interesting. So then with these two potential teams on the other side of state line, is it fair to say this is going to be a conversation within the legislature going forward to look at these Star bonds and their usage towards maybe having another pro team somewhere out there in the Legends area?
I'm sure it will be. So when we had the Star bond bill open this last couple of weeks, I did reach out to David Toland, and he is the way the bill is written is fine. We didn't need to make any changes to the actual Star bond language in order for this to happen. And there's a lot of excitement around this, but I would say that we're here to help if we need to be. The Chiefs are, from what I understand, my brother was involved in this for quite some time, and the Chiefs really like it up there at Arrowhead. But Frank White's messed this thing up so bad that they may end up we stand a chance of losing these teams. And so we're there as a stopgap. And I know that there's probably negotiations going on, and the retail around this new area would be much better than the retail where Arrowhead currently is. I mean, heck, they can't even keep the hotel open across the street down there. It's not a safe place to be.
Well, that is true. Well, this clears up a lot of questions that I had, and I know that many of our listeners had, Sean Tarwater. So we're grateful for your time. Thank you, as always, for being here, and something tells me we might be having further conversations on this down the road. Thanks so much.
Anytime, Pete.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot.
You bet. Good work out of Sean Tarwater. He is the chairman of the Commerce Committee in the Kansas legislature. He's right here, of course, in the Kansas City area, and he is the expert on all things Star Bond. And even if you got a little, in the weeds there on some things, which I don't think he did. I thought he explained it very well. One thing we can all agree on, very easy to understand, Frank White screwed this thing up 6 ways from Sunday. No doubt about that.